Welcome to the new advisor model presentation on how to gain control of your financial advisor business and finally earn what you're worth. Hi, I'm Scott Keffer, creator of the W Your Affluent Clients Bootcamp and author of W Your Affluent Clients 47 Fast Tips, where we show financial advisors, estate planners, and money managers how to rise above their competition and actually draw right-fit affluent clients to them using the arc of distinction so that they can take home more income, take off more time, and have a greater and greater impact on their family, their friends, their clients, and the causes they care about deeply. Most importantly, I'm an advisor just like you. Except I'm an introvert who had to overcome that in the advisor business, and before I learned, I actually failed out of the business and was almost at bankruptcy before I was ready to bail out of the business, before I actually learned the secrets on how to generate $1 million as a single independent advisor. It's just I had to learn the hard way. So in this short presentation, I'm going to share with you the new advisor model so you can finally enjoy the kind of money and freedom you came into this business for. First, you're going to learn the seismic shifts that are occurring in the economy that are creating the Riptide forces of commoditization. Then you're going to see the long-standing 6 advisor myths that have been drilled into your subconscious and are knowingly holding you back from your true success. Then you discover the framework that will allow you to rise above the Riptide market forces and relentless competition. This is a picture of the arc of distinction, and I'm going to go through it piece by piece so you can see exactly what you need to do to rise above. Then you'll understand the 10 inevitable results of these forces on you and on your business. You wonder why it's such a struggle. And you'll learn exactly what you need to do to break free and also to break through the income and freedom barriers. Keep in mind, these are all hard-won success secrets. It's the real behind-the-scenes success principles. It's not blackboard theory stuff. It's the actual strategies and tactics that I had to learn in order to create $1 million practice. And remember, some of the best stuff is near the end, so be sure to watch the whole presentation. I'm not sure exactly how long it's going to be online, so you should watch it in its entirety while you can. Let's start with what's happening in the marketplace, this Riptide commoditization that's moving us from being distinctive, right? We feel like we'd like to be distinctive in the marketplace, but we're actually in a replaceable state where everybody looks the same. Let's talk a little bit about where that came from. The good old days. I always love when people talk about the good old days, when products and services were marketed essentially in a distinctive fashion because everything was handmade. And I really came across an understanding of this, spending some time with Seth Godin, international best-selling author, just brilliant as he thought about the future of what's happening in the publishing business. That's his area. But he was talking about when pins were made one at a time or a few at a time by hand. And I did a little research. I found out that's why they were so expensive. That's why it was called pin money, because only the really wealthy could afford to buy push pins because they were so expensive to buy. Well, when the assembly line came along and allowed an individual to make 5,000 and then 10,000 and then 15,000 of those, everything began to change, didn't it? Because no longer was one individual making just a few. One individual could now make thousands of pins, and what happens instinctively to the price, right? There's this price pressure that pushes it down and down and down because it's no longer distinctive, it's now the same. And if everybody gets a hold of that piece of equipment, all of a sudden it's easy to replicate what you're doing or anyone else is doing. The force of commoditization. And as a result of that, the price goes down and down and down. In order for assembly line to work, the features and the different parts inside of whatever you're making have to be replaceable. And that was the key. They go from being distinctive, individually made, to replaceable. And so products begin to have clones because it's easier, right, to replace it, and it's easier to clone it. And as a result, there's this race to cheap as price continues to be pushed down. At the same time, the same thing's happening as the medium for marketing messages in the old days. Of course, it would be, who made your shoes, who made your wagon, who made whatever it was. That was really passed on one-to-one. And as the medium began to explode, so did the amount of messages. I mean, think about when we grew up, how many TV shows were there? Essentially got your news from Walter Cronkite, remember that? And it was easy, right? Because you could block out because there were very few messages. Well, now today, as there's this race to loud, what do we have? Clutter. So we find ourselves with clones, which is the race to cheap, and clutter, which is the race to loud. And what it's done is it's created this riptide force. And I don't know, have you ever been caught in a riptide? Our family vacations, almost every single year for the last 25 years maybe, on the shore, eastern shore in New Jersey. And I can remember being caught in a riptide. It's kind of scary. And the worst thing you can do, your natural reaction, is to swim against the forces. If you do that, you'll run out of energy, right, and drown. If you instead swim with the force straight out, you're just going to end up in the middle of the ocean, and the same thing's going to happen. It's just going to happen slower. What you really need to do is use the force of the tide to swim essentially sideways, diagonally, and up and out of the riptide force. So here's this force that's pulling everything that's distinctive to look replaceable. And so for an advisor, this commoditization riptide, we want to look distinctive both in our products and services and unique in our messages, and yet we are appearing in the marketplace as replaceable. What happens when I become replaceable? My value goes way down. My distinctiveness goes way down. Well, back around the same time, an Italian individual who was traveling with a theater troupe was really excited. He was a woodworker by background. He was really excited, not really, about the opportunity to make shoes because this traveling troupe needed shoes. And he was really good at creating what they called the take, which is essentially a model of your foot. And the model of your foot would allow him to make a boot which fit you exactly correctly. And he continued to do that over time and then passed that skill down to his children, grandchildren, and now still his great granddaughter continues to do that. The shoe name is Berluti, and you can get a Berluti custom made anywhere from $3,500 to $200,000. Think about that. You can buy an off the shelf for around $1,700. So who's paying $3,500? Who's paying $10,000, $50,000, $200,000 to buy a pair of shoes? Well, they're not buying a pair of shoes. They're buying a distinctive history and story. They're buying soul in their shoes, in other words. Very distinctive, and they continue to do that for individuals across the United States and across the world. At the same time that the pin revolution was happening, the assembly line revolution, somebody figured out how to take rubber and put a canvas piece over the top, and so was born canvas top sneakers, and they've continued to grow over time. And today, one of my favorite, we took our mastermind group out to Henderson, Nevada, where we visited Zappos. And if you haven't bought a pair of shoes from Zappos, you should. Tremendous experience. And they sell a ton of shoes. And so your options today are to become Zappos, right? High volume, large, which is happening in the financial service world, or to become the Berluti, of the financial service world, which is built not around volume product, it's built around a unique story. And if you try and become both, right, you're in Death Valley. You cannot be both. So every advisor has to decide they're either going to swim against the Riptide force and die quickly, or swim slowly and die slowly, right, out, or use that force to rise above it. Let's look at the advisor business black box and see the impact this is having on our business. And for most advisors, we've been, called and trained to be an advisor, not to be a business person. So our business tends to be this big black box. But I want you to think about it. Any black box, any business, certain things go in and certain things come out. And they've told you you should invest time, energy, and money, and out the other side you should take an income. Time, energy, and money. And the more these Riptide forces are at work, the more time, energy, and money I'm investing in my business, and the less income that's coming out. So what I want to do is pull back, open up this black box, and let's talk about a model that's going to help you think very differently about your business and start to enjoy what you really should, because this is no longer a valid model. It never was a valid business model, and it's no longer a valid model moving into the new economy.